Hello, my dear friends. Today we are going to move to another unit of our textbook, chapter 2, The Invention of Shoes. Actually, this poem is written by Rabindranath Tagore. We know that he is a very renowned Indian poet, educator, painter, and social reformer. He won the Nobel Prize in literature in 1913 for his beautiful collection of verses, Gitanjali. He had a deep interest in children and wrote many poems about them. When you go through the poem that we are going to study today, you will know that how prolific he is, how witty he is, and how simple language he uses, and how he uses his natural style of explaining the scenario all the time. The poem also tries to convey a very powerful message about what happens when someone in power takes whimsical decisions. The poem also portrays the inability of most people to use their common sense to solve a problem. It is said, common sense is not common. Yes, in order to find a solution to a simple problem, we scratch our head and break our heads, wherein the solution may be very simple. Yes, when we go through today's poem, we will know what he meant is true. There was a very simple solution to the problem that the king faced, but many people couldn't find such a simple solution to the problem because they thought very complicated. They thought about this issue as a very complicated issue. They forgot to think simple. Okay, my dear friends, now let us go through the poem and see what does Rabindranath Tagore would like to tell us. Though the original song is written in Bengali, right now in the textbook we have it in English, and it is translated by Sugendurai and Sukanta Chowdhury. So they have translated this Bengali poem into English, and we have it as one of the units to study. King Hobu as an issue to be resolved, and it is entrusted with Minister Gobu. The entire theme revolves around this issue and how the Minister Gobu is trying to find a solution to it. Though in fact, he is not the one who found solution, he takes credit for it. Now let's listen to the poem. Said good King Hobu to Minister Gobu, I have pondered all night. It's just that whenever my feet should land on the street, they come to be sullied by dust. King Hobu is asking, I have thought about this issue all night, that whenever I go through the street, whenever I step out of my palace, what happens is that my feet is getting dirty by dust. So he stayed all night thinking, why should the dust dirty my royal feet whenever I step on the ground? Yes, now it goes like this. Your wages you draw, but you don't care a straw to serve the demands of the king. It's a rank plot to foil me, my own soil to soil me. I won't simply stand such a thing. Now the king Hobu is actually scolding Minister Gobu, telling that, no, you are drawing your wages monthly, but there is no use. It doesn't serve the purpose. You don't care for me. You don't care a straw, means you don't care at all for me. You are drawing fat salaries. You have no concern for the king or the kingdom or the problems that bother me. So the king is telling that you must put an end to this at once, or else no one shall be spared from my wrath. No one will be spared from this anger, wrath. Yes, goes on. Unless you can find a solution, you are all doomed to swift dissolution. Yes. So, I hope you have understood the theme of poem. The king is finding a problem. All night he pondered. All night he thought about it. What is the problem that the king is facing? The king stayed up all night thinking, why should the dust dirty my royal feet whenever I step on the ground? Whenever I step on the ground. And king is calling for the minister. The minister's name is Gobu Rai, and the king says to Gobu, whenever I step onto the ground, I dirty my feet with dust. Can you not find a solution for this? You are drawing fatty salaries, but you have a concern for the king or the kingdom, or for the matters of the kingdom. You have a concern to solve the problem that is bothering me. You must put an end to this at once, or else the king says, no one will be spared from the royal court. So king is in a very angry mood. King wants somehow to get this issue solved. He is proving up the minister in order to find a solution to his problem. Now, go on. The terrified minister at these words sinister broke into cold sweat with fright. So the minister is terrified, is worried as to how to solve this problem. Sweating with fright, sweating with fright. Because of fear, he is sweating profusely. The pundits grow pale and the courtiers once came, lay sleeplessly dozing all night in the minister's court. So the minister called together pundits, all the learned people, the priests, and they are trying to find a solution to the problem in the palace of the minister's home. There was weeping and gloom. The fires in the kitchen grew cold. So people are all worried. There is weeping. And nobody is cooking anything. All worried. The fires in the kitchen grew cold, till crazed with fears, his beard drenched in tears. His beard drenched in tears. The tears coming down and drenched his beard even. So he is so sad that he is not able to solve the problem, find a solution to the problem. So he is crying, weeping over. Nobody is eating anything. That's why they said the fires in the kitchen grew cold. Nobody is eating anything. Nobody is feeling like eating anything. Till crazed with fears, his beard drenched in tears. He fell at the king's feet and told, now, the minister is falling down at the feet of the king and says, "But how can we live if denied the dust from your feet sanctified?" So he is trying to sugarcoat him, butter him down, and says, my dear king, how can we live if denied the dust from your feet sanctified? We can't even live without getting the dust from your feet, sanctifying your land. When you walk around, you are walking around and the dust is getting sanctified, and our land also is getting sanctified. That's a question indeed. King Hobu agreed. Yes, King Hobu likes flattering him. King Hobu likes to hear people say good things about him. Yes, King Hobu was very happy. King Hobu agreed, but maybe should come after a must. We need to discourse on this problem of yours. But meanwhile, get rid of the dust. Yes, the king says, maybe. But there is a major problem than that. For we have to find a solution to that problem first. And then your problem, we will take it up later. About sanctifying your land with the dust from his feet. Yes. You are getting good money. I don't think it's funny. You can't tackle problems like this. Yes, again the king is scolding the minister, telling you are getting a lot of money. But how is that you are not able to handle the situation as it has come? Yes. There seems little point why I should appoint these scientists with long degrees. So deal with the first things first, or else be prepared for the worst. Again, the king is thinking that he has made a waste over the money that he has by appointing scientists with a lot of degrees in his palace in order to advise him, and even they are not able to find a solution to the problem. Yes. Now, again, as I said, I hope you have understood so far. The Pandits' faces are all turned pale. The courtiers' nights turned sleepless. In the kitchen, the cooking stopped. In the castle, the crying started. Gogurai is looking for a solution. Gogurai looked far and wide and gathered all the scientists and learned men, all the scholars and mechanics he could find. They pushed their glasses up their noses and sat down to find a solution to the royal problem. Yes. The poor Gohu decided to call the wise men of the land. Each subtle mechanic was summoned in panic. They studied and brooded and scanned. The spectacles perched on the nose of the research as they took 19 barrels of snuff. 19 barrels of snuff. So, they are trying to find a solution to the problem. They pushed their glasses up their noses and sat down to find a solution to the problem. After thinking long and deep, they said, what did they say? Then warned, if the crust of the earth lost its dust, you couldn't grow food grains enough. So they thought and thought and thought. They said, if you remove all the dust from there, what happens? You will not be able to grow any food grains. You will not be able to grow any food grains. What are you wise men worth? Said the king. Can't you tackle the dirt? After some more discussion, they found a solution, which was to buy millions of brooms. Yes. Now they are coming out with a very bright idea. What is the idea? Yes, it is a fact that there is a lot of dust on the earth where the king is going to walk about. But there is only one solution, they said. What solution? They said, if you do away with the soil, they will not be able to grow the crops. The king is not satisfied. Now, the king is scolding them. They thought more and more and they made a purchase of 17 lakh 50,000 brooms. For what brooms? They said, we will sweep out all the dust from the streets. Workers were summoned. The dusting of the kingdom commenced. The dust covered the king's face and chest. And as you sweep, dust goes up, isn't it? And what happens? The king couldn't breathe, for the dust from the street was driven right into his rooms. So where he was residing, it was fully covered with dust. King could not even breathe. The people that passed were blinded with dust. They coughed and they sneezed in a daze. So coughing and sneezing. It was the after effect of sweeping was that king could not remain in his room. The room was filled with dust. People who were walking around the street, they were coughing and sneezing. The dust floated down and veiled all the town. The sun disappeared in the haze. Even the sun, they couldn't even see the sun because of the dust. All town was covered with dust. The king remarked, now really so, to clear the dust, they have added more. So to douse down the earth and settle the dirt, some 2 million watermen came. Oh, now again another problem, how to settle this dust? Again, the wise man thought very hard and they found another solution. They hired more and more people, watermen. They, with their buckets, went to the riverside, collected water, and they were asked to pour the water in the streets and settle down the dust. The dust covered the king's face and chest. No one could open their eyes because of the dust. No one could see the sun. People coughed and choked. The kingdom was almost buried under the dust. The king said, you are supposed to get rid of the dust, not fill the world with it. Sarcastically. Then 21 lakh water carriers set out with bags of water. They ran fast and they ran all over, pouring water wherever they saw a speck of dust. So they are carrying water and pouring it wherever they found dust. All the ponds and lakes were soon overflowing with mud. You know what happens when we collect so much of water in the ponds get dry, and again ponds and lakes were soon overflowing with mud only. When there is no water, no boats can travel. No boat could move on the river. So there was no water. The water creatures also perished. All the fishes and all the creatures who are living in the water, they also perished. The land creatures tried their hand at swimming. They could hardly walk or run on the mud. No bazaar could be set up, so trading stopped. So, for trading, all the goods were transported through the lakes. And once the lake is with no water, no boats could travel, and as a result, what happens? No bazaar could be set up, no trade would take place. All that is a problem. Now, what happens? Let's read. Some 2 million watermen came. They drained all the lakes to fill water bags, and boats could be sailed on the stream. The water bees died as the element dried, while land bees struggled to swim. All business was stuck in the slime and the muck. And fever attacked every limb. Yes, not only that the water creatures died, the trade stopped. There was also a fever that attacked the entire land. Fever. Yes. Now the king said, "This army of asses has turned all the dust to morass." So they held more talk, and from every walk the wise men came to attend. So, in order to find a solution to this problem again, more wise men came to talk. And with reeling eyes and dazed surmise, they found of the dust no end. One man had a thought to lay out a cloth or cover the land with mats, or day and night to shut up tight the chamber where the king sat. So one man came with another idea. What's the idea? To cover the entire land with a mat or a cloth. There was another idea to shut up the room where the king resides. To shut up the chamber of the king, so that no dust will enter the chamber. The king will remain within the chamber. The king will not be able to move out. If they kept him enclosed all the time, his feet couldn't land in the grind. His feet couldn't land in the grind. His feet couldn't land in the grind. Said the king, "That's neat. It would guard my feet, but how could I govern my realm? If I am shut in the room, the land meets its doom. I must have my hand on him." So they spoke again. Yes. Now, the king said, "It's a very good idea that you shut me up, enclose me in my chamber, but I should rule my land. If only I move out the land, I will be able to solve the problems of people. If I remain in the chamber, how can I rule the nation?" Yes, the king said, "Very true, but I am worried. If I were to stay shut up indoors every day, all day, then the royal machinery shall come to a stop, and my kingdom shall be ruined." Then, taking matters into his own hands, the king announced, "Call the tanners, all of them. Wrap the whole land in leather. This shall be my great contribution, a mighty blanket for the dusty earth." So the king is taking upon himself the responsibility of solving the problem. And he said, "Call all the tanners, all of them, and cover the land in leather." So, and the king says, "This will be a great contribution from my side. And people will talk about me as a king who has spread a mighty blanket for the dusty earth." Yes. A simple device, if we can just find out a smart leatherman. So such leatherware, they look everywhere, abandoning all other chores. But no craftsman found, nor hides to go round, even after they knocked all the doors. But just at this while, there rose with a smile the leatherman's grizzled old chief. Yes, everyone bowed to the king and said, "What a brilliant idea." "Your Royal Highness," they said, "it is only a question of finding a tanner good enough." And what happens? The royal emissaries set off in every way. They went to different directions, finding out a good tanner. Everyone stopped what they were doing and rushed out to look for a tanner good enough. Where could they find such a tanner? And where could they find so much of leather to cover the entire land? At last, the chief tanner of the kingdom presented himself at the royal court. So there is a chief tanner, a very expert person in tanning. He appeared in the royal court. He was a very old man. He bowed to the king, smiled a little and said, "If your royal highness permits, I have a suggestion to make. It might fulfill your wish in a simple yet effective manner." Yes. And let's see what happens. "My lord, please permit that I may submit a measure to bring your relief. All earth you needn't entreat. Just cover your own 2 feet. Pooh! Were it so easy, we wouldn't be busy." The king said, "Pursuing our mission, let him be impaled." King couldn't believe that he could give a very simple solution to his very big problem, as he thought. The tanner said, "My dear king, you don't need to cover the entire land with the cloth or leather, but instead you may cover your own feet, 2 feet. You may cover your feet and you will be able to solve this problem." The king couldn't believe that there will be such a simple solution to his very mighty problem, as he thought. And he thought it is foolery, and he ordered the chief tanner to be present. And he said, "Meanwhile, let the investigation take place. Let the search for a tanner take place who will be able to find a suitable solution to his problem." The king said, "Pursuing our mission, let him be impaled." The minister railed, blind him and throw him in prison. But the old man sat down at the foot of the throne and in leather the royal feet rest. While the king was pronouncing the judgment upon the tanner, he was already busy with making shoes for the king. And the old man sat down at the foot of the throne and leather the royal feet rest. While Gobu now said, "This was in my head, but how could the blighter have guessed?" And that is how shoes were invented, the earth saved and Gobu contented. Yes, my dear friends. Meanwhile, when the king was about to put him to the prison, the tanner was already at work making a shoes for the king. The tanner was deep at work. Sitting down at the king's feet, he had been measuring the feet of the king, cutting, stitching and fitting. Before the king could decide whether to throw him into the jail or to forgive him, he had finished a neat pair of shoes and presented it to his royal highness. King Hobu put on the shoes. They fit him perfectly well. His royal feet felt warm and snug and most importantly clean. So the king felt that his royal feet is safe and is very clean. The minister spared the old tanner. He was not put into prison. He said, "I had the same idea myself. Some way or the other, the tanner, that fellow, must have got hold of my idea." You know why the minister is thinking so? He wants to save his face. He wants to tell the king that he is the one who has found out this shoes or this idea. The royal feet were saved, so was Gobu, and so was the earth. Yes. Now they have found a very simple solution to their very complicated problem. The king wore shoes and the entire problem was solved. My dear friends, I hope you have understood the poem The Invention of Shoes, written by Rabindranath Tagore and translated by Sugetu Roy and Sugandha Chaudhary. Dear friends, now let us go through the question answers in the lesson The Invention of Shoes. Question number 1. What was King Hobu worried about? King Hobu was worried about his feet getting dirty whenever he stepped on the ground. He wanted to get rid of the dust in his kingdom so that his feet would remain clean. Question number 2. Did the entire world really get filled with dust? Why does the king say so? The entire world didn't get filled with dust. However, the king says this to show the amount of dust all the sweeping had brought about. Question number 3. How was the earth saved? The king and his men damaged the earth by sweeping all the mud and then emptying the rivers and lakes. They even wanted to cover the entire kingdom with carpets and leather. But the tanners' clever idea of making shoes for the royal feet saved the earth. Describe how brooms were used to clean the dust in King Hobu's kingdom and what was the result. Question number 4. 17,50,000 brooms were purchased for the dusting of the kingdom, but it created so much dust that everybody started coughing and choking. The king's face was covered with dust and even the sun could not be seen because of the air was filled with dust. Question number 5. Write the character sketch of King Hobu and Gobu Rai. King Hobu is comical because he is fussy about getting his feet dirty. He is very fussy. He sets the whole kingdom to find a solution to his problem. He is ungrateful because he wanted to punish the old tanner who was trying to solve his problem. He likes the shoes and feels happy as the shoes kept his feet warm and clean. Gogurai was king's minister. He pretended to be a very clever man. He does not want to look foolish in front of others. He wants to take credit for the clever idea. He is selfish and cunning. Question number 6. Read the lines and answer the question. I had the same idea myself. Some way or the other, the fellow must have got hold of my idea. Who says this? Do you think this is the truth? Minister Gogurai says this. No, this is not true because he just wanted to show that he is a very clever man. What do these lines make you think about the speaker? These lines tell us that Gogurai is a clever man. He does not want to look foolish in front of others. He wants to take the credit for the clever idea. This also tells us that he is selfish and cunning. Question number 7. I had the same idea myself. Some way or the other, the fellow must have got hold of my idea. What was the idea and whose idea was it? It was the idea of the tanner to make shoes for the king. Question number 8. How was King Hobu's problem solved with this idea? King Hobu's problem was solved when the old tanner made the shoes for the king. He felt warm and comfortable after wearing the shoes. Question number 9. What was the king's order to Minister Gobu? King Hobu considered himself as the owner of the earth, but he hated when his feet got covered with the dust of the same earth. So the king ordered the minister to find a solution for this. Question number 10. Why did the king think that Gobu and the other courtiers were plotting against him? In King Hobu's opinion, Gobu and the rest of the ministers were not honest to him even though they were paid by him. If a group of officials do not care about the king, it is dishonesty and plotting. Question number 11. What was the impact of the king's order upon the courtiers? The courtiers got panicky when the king proclaimed such a terrible order. They broke into cold sweat with fear. Even the highly respected priests grew pale, and the other courtiers lost their sleep after this order of the king. Question number 12. Why are the king's words said to be sinister? Anything that evokes extreme fear is said to be sinister. The king's order appeared to be an impossible task for the courtiers, priests, and ministers, that they were filled with extreme fear. My dear friends, that's all for the question and answers. Please study them. While studying the question and answers, you will get a better understanding of the entire poem, The Invention of Shoes, written by Rabindranath Tagore.